Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello everyone, I'm David Fiorazzo, joined by the one and only Katie Petrick. And as always, before we get started, hit that share button. Share. You can like it, but share is so much more important so we can educate more patriots and raise awareness around the country. So today, let's start on the college campus as the top-rated universities in the country are looking to cash in post-COVID. How? They're raising tuition at this time of inflation, despite an impending recession and falling enrollment numbers. The headline, 27 of the top 30 universities are increasing tuition again after COVID-era rate hikes. So Katie, all 30 universities have raised prices at least once since the 2019-2020 academic year, which coincided with the outbreak. And now last month, Campus Reform reported, for example, Boston University, a 4.25% rise in tuition. That was the largest hike at the school in 14 years. And here at a time where the economy is tanking, Bidenomics, they're raising tuition. Can you make sense of this?
Oh, I can make perfect sense of this.
I figured you could.
I can make dollars in sense of this. This is a perfect time for these universities to cash in, as you say, post-COVID, because they were already given the resources via the federal government for all these bailouts because, COVID, you guys are going to take a hit, so we're going to, get that money. So they're just kind of riding the wave of this, where they think that all these students are looking to get out to go to the university just to go and be out in the public again post-COVID. So they don't care what the number is going to be. And all these kids are banking on the fact that, Biden's probably just going to waive off my debt anyway. So the colleges are like, well, we could just put the number at $1 billion. And what does it matter? We, the university, we're going to get bailed out by the Biden administration.
That makes sense.
So far, it hasn't happened and hopefully won't happen because that's not smart. But since you brought up Boston University, which I can't believe they haven't put an entire, economics wing out there for the only Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, did she go to BU?
BU, bet she did.
Okay.
That's where she got the famous economics and international studies degree.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So for them to be raising their money, of course it makes sense. But you take a look at some of these other universities, the fact that they raised their tuition, does it shock me in the least? No. The fact that they are already in the $50,000 and $60,000 range for 1 year of tuition, and the fact that they're going up, it's just disgusting. Princeton University, they already started this year at $56,000, and they're going to go up to $57,000. Columbia is $63,000, going up to $65,000. My brain can't fathom spending that much money on 1 year of tuition. My brain can't fathom spending 4 years of tuition on that amount of money. When you look at these universities, Harvard, for example, Harvard already has an endowment that's in the millions, tens of millions, 40s to 50s. Oh, billion, actually.
Billion.
I say million? Billion.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to them. They just want more money. And that's what they're doing. So the simple fact that one kid, 50 grand or more, of course. And these kids are going to pay it because they think actually having a piece of paper that says Harvard on it means something these days.
Not anymore.
When it really doesn't. And so that's what you get going on at the universities post-COVID, even though they've created... Well, they have to pay for all these diversity instructors and administrators.
Big salaries
to pay. Not for the actual teachers in the classroom or for anything that would really, truly be beneficial to the students, but all for that bloat. They got to get their bloat on.
Yep. And let's just baffle you with more numbers. The University of Southern California raising its rates by almost 7%. Let's jump down to what U.S. News reported in 2021. The average tuition and fees increased 144% at private universities. That's since 2002. So we're talking 20 years. Out-of-state tuition and fees for public universities increased 171%, and in-state tuition and fees at public universities have increased 211%. Wow.
What? How has the education changed? How has it improved?
Well, I'll tell you, kids can't answer the basic man on the street questions about the Constitution, the history of America. That's how it's changed.
So you are more than double paying your tuition and getting not even half of what the education used to be. So let's do the math on that one. It's called you're getting screwed with your pants on. I'm just going to say it that way. And the simple fact that, again, post-COVID, when everything was online and apparently they could do education online, the tuition continues to go up. How do you square that circle? I don't understand that one. It's confusing to me, but I just have several of those degrees. So
well, isn't that across the education system as a whole? I mean, in public education across the country, hasn't it been since the 1970s the teachers need more money? More income. They need more money. They need more money for education, more education funding, more money. Oh, but by the way, they do need more money, though, the teachers in the classroom, and they need raises and more money.
And after, do they need some more cents and dollars as well?
Yeah, they need a little bit more money to do what they're doing.
To do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the sad truth is, when we get this argument, well, I'm a teacher and I don't make that much money. Well, you got to go against your unions, and if we're going to go to the K-12 system and say, guess what, stop giving your money for these people who are supposed to be representing you because they're just representing themselves, and that goes to the administrators, the union heads, all the money that they claim is being given to the teachers, which the teachers aren't getting enough, and that's why they need more. All the actual money is going to the administration, and then even in Biden administration, we found that all that COVID money that was given to these universities is not being put into actually for the university. It's going just to the administration. It's not working.
Imagine that.
Shocker. I didn't see it coming.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Before we move on, please do take one little moment to consider supporting the work we do here at Freedom Project. If you do enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club with a donation for us. And as a token of our appreciation, we will send back to you our trademark American Patriot tumbler. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. Because again, as always, we need your support so we can keep on doing what we're doing here, like educating you about what college graduates are saying, and that includes 10 little facts that we have about today's college graduates. Now, we're not going to go through all 10 of these little facts because, hey, you wouldn't have anything to read about. So we're just going to give our thoughts on some of these. And so we're going to give you more of these stats about college, and these stats, these 10 facts are coming from Pew Research. They collected some data. They gave us 10 facts about today's college graduates. And so I want to start with the second fact they actually pointed out, which is, in a reversal, women are now more likely than men to graduate from college. Wait, what is a woman? Since we don't know that, watch a couple days before episode and Matt Walsh's documentary called What is a Woman if you're at all confused. But for those of us who actually know what a woman is, apparently now women are more likely than men to graduate from college. And that's according to the current population survey. Now, in 2021, 39% of women ages 25 and older had a bachelor's degree or more education. And that's compared to 37% of men, so that's 2% less in that same age range. Now, the gap in college completion, it's wider, even more so if you're age 25 to 34, where it's 46% of women in that age group have at least a bachelor's degree, and that's only compared to 36% of men, so 10% less of men than women have a college degree. David.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? What is it? I've been told, as a woman who identifies as a woman because I'm a woman, I'm so oppressed. I mean,
you've been kept down.
I've been kept down.
Yeah.
And yet I sit here with like 4 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees, depending on how you want to count them. And now I'm, according to this stat, I'm more likely than men to graduate. So what's happening? I'm not so oppressed. I'm confused.
Well, I don't know what's happening exactly, but I do know about a third of men who haven't completed 4 years of college say they just didn't want to get a degree.
Oh, is that what's happening? So we just have understanding of why
Yeah.
men are not completing their degree. Well, let's take a look at some of the other answers that they have as to why the men just didn't want to get their degree. Some of them, the men are actually saying that they couldn't afford to get a 4-year degree, and more women could afford it. So wait a minute, again, I'm a woman, I'm oppressed. I don't make as much money as a man. How is it that I can afford it and you men can't? These numbers don't lie, so or are they? Maybe that's what the real answer is. Now, according to those who said they didn't get the college degree, some of them just simply didn't consider it, and that's pretty even actually among men and women that they just didn't consider getting it. And I think it's interesting that 13% of women and 14% of men, I believe is how they have it, think that you just didn't think you could get into a 4-year college. But as they haven't been paying attention in the news, basically anyone gets into a college now. They just want to take your money. As we learned in the last story, these big universities are all about taking your tuition dollars.
If you've got the money,
50 grand, they'll take it.
Yeah, it is astounding. I'm not really surprised. I mean, I think the media has been making a big thing out of this, that women have been, oppressed, right? Because it's cultural Marxism. But they really haven't been. And now in some ways, going back to the 50s and 60s and 70s, of course, there are issues that had to be dealt with fairness. But it's interesting now with the whole Leah Thomas thing and the trans movement, and so there's going to be a lot of confusion on what is a woman, what is a man, and who are they asking? And that's another thing here.
Well, they're
polling.
Yeah, the current population survey data is what we're getting from. So who that's made up of? Actually, we don't know, but we do know it's they're college graduates, and that's the extent of it. Something else we're learning about today's college graduates is that there are racial and ethnic differences in college graduation patterns, as well as in the reasons for not completing a degree. Now, among adults ages 25 and older, 61% of Asian Americans have a bachelor's degree or more education, along with 42% of white students. 28% of black adults and 21% of Hispanic adults, according to the 2021 current population survey data. So here's my question, is we keep being told that it's underrepresented, we need to get more blacks in schools, we need to get more Asians in school, or not more Asians, more Hispanics in schools. They always leave out the Asians. And it's all because you whiteys are the bad people. But if you look at the percentages of who has a bachelor's degree or more, 28% of black adults having one is double overrepresentation then. So should we not be saying that everything is racist? Should we not be just applauding everyone who's getting an education? Hopefully they're getting a good one, but we know it's not. So, But it's just interesting to break down who the racial and ethnic differences right now are of today's graduates. Moving on to the next point I wanted to make, only 62% of students who start a degree or certificate program finish their program within 6 years.
Wow.
And it's mostly the simple fact that they didn't say within 4 years, they didn't say within 5 years, they said within 6 years, because that's definitely a trend. If you haven't been paying attention, you don't go to college for 4 years anymore. Heck, people are going to high school for more than 4 years. But you definitely don't go to college for 4 years. You don't go for 5 years anymore. During my time, it was starting to get into the 5-year programs. Now it's 6 years. And if only 62% Not even 2 and 3 are graduating within 6 years. Think of all that money we talked about at the beginning of this episode. $50,000 per year in tuition.
Well, it's a good thing they don't have to worry about that anymore because they're going to cancel student loan
debt.
right?
Yeah, I
Student
mean,
loan
so
debt.
yeah, then and it's just gonna poof, be gone, right? And then I just want to make one more point that most Americans with college degrees see value in their experience. But what's fascinating is the breakdown of age with it. So in the center's October 2021 survey, majorities of graduates said their college education was extremely or very useful when it came to helping them grow personally and intellectually, with 79%. Opening doors to job opportunities, 70% said that, and 65% said that it was developing a specific skill or knowledge that could be used in the workplace. But younger college graduates were less likely than older ones to see value in their college education. I can't believe it. You mean college education isn't the same as it once was? It, again, on my list of, I didn't see it coming.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
It's a good day here when we get to watch a campus reform video. So according to a Harvard poll, good old Harvard, 56% of young Americans disapprove of President Joe Biden. So you have campus reform reporter Alexa Schroer, who asked college students at the University of Maryland about how Joe Biden is actually doing. And hey, what did they have to say?
So in your opinion, how is President Joe Biden doing so far in his term?
I like everything that he's done.
I think he's doing okay. There's definitely a lot of things that still need to be done.
I don't think he's done too bad. In terms of inflation, cutting back a bit might have helped. In terms of Ukraine, I don't know about sending billions and billions of dollars of aid.
I feel like he's doing pretty well. With all the Roe v. Wade stuff, he definitely needs to take some serious action.
I haven't heard about him, so I guess he's doing okay.
He's doing as well as anybody expected.
It hasn't been in my face every day unlike the last presidency, so I'm just happy about that.
According to a Harvard poll, it looks like 56% of young Americans currently don't approve of the job that President Biden is doing. Why do you think this is?
They were just accustomed to the old administration. It just takes time.
There were a lot of promises made that just aren't turning out.
He's just not as extreme as some students may want him to be.
They expect more when it comes to progressive and leftist politics.
Would you support 4 more years of President Biden?
It depends on the other options out there.
I would have to see his ideas.
I guess.
No.
At the moment, yes.
No, I would not. I just want someone who's younger. That's it.
I guess I agree with the last person there. I just want someone who's younger. These kids don't know what they're not talking about. They don't know what's happening. Well, I guess, sure,
They're not
maybe.
informed.
I don't know. He's not Trump, so that's all that matters. Okay.
No, that's an interesting point. That's the one that I was going to bring up. The guy that said, "Well, he's not in our face every day, so I'm just glad. I'm just he can do whatever he wants," because the media pushed the bad orange man bad. Trump is in your face. He's chaotic. He's divisive. Look at him. He's intolerant. And Trump, and then the anger and the angst. So some people, that was a very revealing answer because some people are just relieved. Not because that Trump is not president necessarily. They're relieved that we don't have to hear about it because the media isn't constantly just at the onslaught.
And that's because the current president is also being hidden half of the time.
He's protected.
I mean, he'll probably be out and about now because it's June Dairy Month, so he'll be getting his ice cream. But otherwise, they've been trying to hide him this entire time. When was the last time he did a press interview, a sit-down press interview? Lester Holt, months ago, was the last time he did one.
Or answered questions.
Answered questions, any of that. So, and I mean, he's busy, with inflation and gas prices and baby formula shortage and whatever's happening in Ukraine and Russia at the time. And there's a border crisis and all these other things. But don't forget, again, ice cream, Jim Dairy Month.
And school lunch money. He's really busy trying to figure out
That
with
too.
the Department of Agriculture, working there
True.
with how that's going to. By the way, who's vice president? Oh, that's right. They're trying to keep her low profile, as out of the media as much as possible. So it's very interesting. You can see some of the results of these kids answering these questions based on what the media did in the previous administration, not on Trump's policies, and they're not comparing policy to policy. That would be an interesting Q&A when you go out on the street. Anyway, we've got to do what before we go coming up next. All right, well, before we go, let's take time to fill you in on some other stories we've been following. Now, we start with four-time NBA champion, oh my goodness, LeBron James, as the 37-year-old has become the first active NBA player to reach billionaire status. Wait a minute. I thought he was oppressed. James reached the elite level after raking in $121 million just last year through salary, business ventures, and endorsements. Only Argentinian soccer star Lionel Messi, I think, made more as an athlete last year than James, raking in $130 million. James has been harshly criticized for being quick to blame America for racism and oppression of blacks while staying silent on communist China's oppression, a country that's raking in billions of dollars for the NBA. In the end, James has a few more pesos to earn if he wants to top Michael Jordan, who reportedly has a net worth of $1.5 billion. So now we move on from smart and successful individuals to individuals, well, less smart. 2 weeks ago, our friends at Fleckas Talks headed to the streets of New York City to test the knowledge of young adults. Well, the plot thickens as we find a trend is emerging. Let's experience together the facepalm.
Who fought in the Revolutionary War?
I don't even know what that war is, to be honest.
Do you know who the leader of Russia is?
I forgot his name.
Do you know what the First Amendment is?
My history teacher would be disappointed in me.
What are the two countries that border the U.S.?
The United Kingdom and Europe.
That physically border the U.S., like on a map.
Yeah, I know that one. Venezuela.
Do you know what the four directions on a compass are?
A compass? What is that?
Who fought in the Civil War?
Who found it?
Who fought?
Fought? Isn't it like Great Britain?
Yeah, against...
Australia?
Which one? And against who? You're close.
Great Britain? England?
Yeah.
The Germans?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the results of your education system. Katie, your thoughts on the doomed future of this country. Facepalm, double facepalm. We didn't see that coming.
I'm going north or south to those countries that border the U.S., like Europe and Brazil.
Countries that border the Hawaii.
Oh. At one point, they do ask, name 3 North American countries. And one person said Nevada, Colorado, and then they took the time, Massachusetts, and
oh gosh.
Yes.
Guys, I mean, we laugh at this, but can you see the decline in knowledge? Can you see the increase in money and education funding not going to actual education? But finally, let's wrap things up with everyone's favorite satire site. I like this segment. We picked our favorite Babylon Bee headlines to see which one should be numero uno. We start with report. Despite attempts to add more genders, there still seem to be just 2, plus 767 mental disorders. Number 2, trans women do not have an advantage in women's sports, says Leah Thomas, standing in front of a case filled with trophies. Next, Biden reveals his plan is to just raise gas prices until the counter spins back to 0. Next, Janet Yellen seen reading Economics for Dummies. And finally, Biden welcomes BTS by pulling out his phone and playing Kung Fu Fighting. Katie, I know what mine is, but your top Babylon Bee headline.
They're so good as usual. I'm going to say the Janet Yellen, just because
Really?
I'm doing a lot of research on economics for a course, and the simple fact I would love for this actually to be true, that Janet Yellen would read Economics for Dummies. It may help us out, but I guess the Biden one probably is the overall best one. But I wanted to point out Janet Yellen needing to read.
Well, the gender one was a pretty good one too. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. More to come next time.
And that's going to do it for this show. For all of us here at Freedom Project, please, please, please stay educated, my friends.